Hello, welcome to the third episode of the interview with the Professor N.K.Ambasht Sirji, who is the foremost India's anthropological educationist or educational anthropologist. So we are so glad to have him here to share his the opinions and perspectives and experiences and rich wisdom which he has accumulated all through his years of career. So I'm so excited to learn from him. So now I request Professor N.K.Ambasht to respond to the question which I'm going to pose him. India just completed 1 year of the national education policy, which was made in 2020 on July 29. The policy was revised after 34 years to meet the changing needs of Indian and international education standards. And what are the commonalities and differences between a national policy on education, NPE, which was made in 1986 Act, and the National Education Policy, which was made in 2020 Act. So what are the commonalities and what are the differences between this national policy on education, 1986 Act, and the National Education Policy 2020 Act, sir?
Well, I think there is a very great change, entirely different. Number one, the preschool education has been brought into the primary education sector. So the first 8 years of schooling, followed by 4 years of schooling. So the entire structure has changed. The preschool, having come to the mainstream of elementary education, takes the major cake, number one. Number two, the secondary education and senior secondary education, they have a large chunk of work and vocation joined together. It is possible now for a person to, after 8 years, 4 years of secondary education, one can go into certain professional courses, and the great distinction between academic and professional education has been brought together. The self-employment, entrepreneurship, these are some of the areas in which senior secondary education will be educated. In the university sector also, there is a multi-exit and other kind of a movement. One can go after certificate, one can go after diploma, one can go after degree, and one can go for postgraduate. You see, there is entire structural change that has happened. And universities and other school education has already started doing this. Some of the problems that might arise are in restructuring or readjusting. Some logistical problems and some training problems. For instance, there have been 3 years' time for coming out with the structure, the structural change in terms of preparation. So entire teacher education is being reviewed. Not only reviewed, it have to be overhauled. Similarly, from anthropological point of view, I will dwell on this because the preschool education, earlier also known as Balwadis, also known as early childhood care education, and Anganwadis. All these are getting juxtaposed. And the children, if at the age of 3, if they move to the primary school, then the Anganwadi workers, what will they do? Some of them may be qualified in early childhood care education certificate. Some may be educated to the extent required. They might get absorbed in that. Some might need training in service programs to upgrade their skills and upgrade their knowledge. So these structures will have to build. That is one. The second point that I have warned the various agencies and others, that once you have these Anganwadi workers brought into the gambit of elementary education, then these people will legitimately ask for the pay and grade of a primary school teacher. So the Anganwadi workers who are working on honorarium will have to be absorbed as a primary school teacher. So the financial provision needs to be made. Otherwise, a situation will arise like the one we have Shiksha Mitra and Shiksha workers, and that kind of education is going on at the moment. Even now, in UP, Shiksha Mitra or Shiksha Karmi, these people are agitating to be absorbed as primary school teacher in the grade and pay that is available to them. So this is a potential, I would say, a potential problem that can come up, and we must be sort of prepare and take action before it is too late. So it is not possible in such a short time to go through the entire this National Education Policy 2020. But one thing is very clear, that it is preparing people for self-employment. It is geared towards equipping people for lifelong education. It is equipping people to become self-entrepreneurs by themselves. So the job, service, government service, these are, because these are scarce, and it leads to a lot of frustration in employment market. So Atmanirbhar Bharat is one of the major driving force of national policy of education. Yeah. Next. Hello. Next. Next question, please.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any clarifications to ask?
Regarding this, introducing the professional courses, like at the age of at the 6th standard, and exposing them to some getting these vocational courses, will it divert to get into those things, because they're before they get into they complete their high school education, they're exposed to this vocational education? Will it divert the children towards the getting settled with this basic professional vocational these thing? And is there any danger of quitting to go to higher studies? What do you feel, sir?
I think that the question is that the entire curriculum, both in terms of learning objectives and in terms of outcomes, will see a drastic change in terms of application component, more predominantly coming into the scheme of instruction, and theoretical aspects will find space in terms of understanding the various concepts and application. So it is no more teaching of heat in physics. It will be how do you apply these concepts and how it is being used. You see, one thing is very clear in this National Education Policy 2020 is that they are emphasizing that textbook and classrooms are not the only sources of knowledge. There are very many sources available on digital platforms. You have massive online orientation courses, MOOC. You have various Swayam Prabha program. Lots of platforms are available on which you can access knowledge. So accessing knowledge is not the center. How to access knowledge becomes the center. So practical aspect, the moment you say how to, then it becomes how will you operate your gadget, how will you get information. Now the teacher is not the know-all. Every moment there is an explosion of knowledge. So this has been recognized in the NEP 2020. This has been recognized, and the stress will be on acquiring knowledge and applying it. Application part will be of great emphasis in this.
So you mean skill development courses?
Pardon?
You mean skill development courses?
Skill development is, as I said earlier, prior to this question, I said that the goal is to make every educand as a skilled person in one or more than one field. So the content of education will have more stress on application. And why are you doing what you are doing? The understanding of that will clarify many of the things that will reduce cramming power, stress on cramming, that is cramming and reproduction in examination is the present way. This will be drastically changed on how you acquire knowledge and how you apply it. So application part will be of great importance. And that will lead you to become an entrepreneur and to Atmanirbhar.
Sir, so how the National Education Policy 2020, one of its objectives is to reduce the undue focus on the class 10 and class 12 board exams. So how do you see that, sir?
Well, I have, it is still in a state of flux in the sense that when you are adopting digital media, the online examination, online evaluation, online acquisition of knowledge, this will come very forcefully. So whether one wills it or not, these examination boards will have to reinvent themselves. Reinvent in the sense that they will have to go along with the technological development. Very recently, only day before yesterday, there was a write-up by Mrs. Saroj Sharma, the chairperson of National Institute of Open Schooling, that how examinations and how instruction through digital media. So one can acquire knowledge, one can acquire a certificate without going to a school also. So those possibilities are not only hypothetical, but they are taking practical shape. So in this connection, I had, in my last talk, I had talked about on-demand examination system, that you can take examination anytime. So those are the steps on which further strategies are being built, and working groups are already in process. This will have implication on teacher education too. These teachers who are trained in the chalk and talk method, or at best a whiteboard method, they will have to change their strategies and technology that, well, most of the work, most of the information will have to be collected by the child himself. So that is one part of it. That is, I would say, soft part of it. The hard part of it is, and which is really a problem, is to provide the hardware in terms of either a smartphone or in terms of computer to the learner in the remote areas, and to make broadband width available there. As you know, many of the fiber optics have been laid, and most of the, many, I would say not most, but quite a lot of villages have been provided with this kind of the towers, TV towers and all those things. So what I am trying to say is that infrastructural development and hardware, availability of hardware for reaching this unreached in education sector, I think that will be for the next 10 years, that will be a big challenge. And once these things are, it reaches a take-off stage, then the wherewithal with regard to software, that is the curriculum, the content, the processes would have been in place. And also the hardwares in terms of your digital devices and smartphones. 2030 is the goal that they are setting, to have everything in place. So, and the work is starting, and there have been about a 10-member committee has been established to work out in, they have been mandated to work out the logistical strategies. And these 10-member people would be, my understanding is, they would be assigned every sector, separate sectors. You do the university education, you do primary education, you do elementary, secondary education. And they will constitute a group of experts who would start working on this. And I have been stressing, and some these people are listening to me also, when I say that particularly the teacher and the learner also, the learner must know why I am learning what I am learning, what is the intent, what is the expected outcome out of me. And also the teacher is supposed to know why is he teaching what he is teaching. These are the two phrases that I have been very frequently using. And many of the people just laugh at me that every time he speaks this, but I know that this is very important. So I think the challenge before this, before the country is to translate this national policy into actionable scheme of things. Earlier in 1986 policy, they had a program of action. And they revised the policy in 1990 with the Acharya Ramurthy committee. Acharya Ramurthy was very close to me. I was, but that apart, they said education for humanity or something like that. I just said. So they revised that policy in the light of what was workable. This is now this task force that has been constituted and notified 3 days ago, is charged with the responsibility of working out plan and action as to what needs to be done. And I hope that they will have a small group of advisors who would deliberate and discuss and
then. Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah, the next question is, with the holistic education, one of the key goals of National Education Policy 2020, multidisciplinary streams have started across institutes. This means that engineering colleges will not only offer technical courses, but also commerce and humanities subjects. While there is been considerable progress on curriculum changes and the introduction of regional languages, some key reforms are pending, and they include the flexible entry and exit for college students and allowing international institutes to set up campuses in India. So, and also the envisaged system where schools and higher education institutes would allow students to pick and choose subjects based on their interests and aptitude. This means an engineering student should also be able to study economics or design in the same institute. The Indian Institute of Technology, the country's top engineering colleges, are looking to start courses including economics and the design, music, business administration, linguistics, literature. The Education Ministry has asked all higher education institutes to offer a wide array of courses across streams in order to have a diverse student population. IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, IIT Madras, and IIT Roorkee are among many such institutes that offer courses beyond traditional engineering. So what are in this kind of a scenario, what are the implications for the discipline of anthropology?
Well, number one, the humanities have been an integral part of engineering courses in all the IITs I know for certain. And during the late 1999-2001, the ministry felt, the Ministry of HRD then, now Education, felt that there was need for injecting human values in these technical and technical courses. So they made a beginning by making IIT Delhi as the nodal center for devising courses that would lead to humanism among the graduates of technical institutions. IIM Lucknow, they made for management education, NCERT for school education. So this kind of initiative was made. Now, this has come a full cycle now, and it has been integrated in the entire this education policy, that an engineer is not only a technical person, but he is also a human being, and he is operating in diverse field. It's not only working with the tools or working with the computer. So also the doctor. So this kind of integration is being incorporated, and this change is being made, that human being is not a watertight compartment of engineer and watertight compartment of doctor, but there are various, I would say, interactional areas, other areas. So humanistic or humanities is a kind of area which permeates all these things. So the change that has come into that you have just now described is with a view to making an engineer also a human being. When I am saying human being, it is a very loaded term. A doctor into a human being. He is not only a doctor motivated by altruistic values. He is also a human being. So both altruism is good, but what is happening today is too much of stress on earning money. So this needs to be balanced. So this is why I think that they deliberated very seriously while doing this kind of broadening the area of interactional area between humanities and professional education. So that is the manifestation in the national policy is there. Let us see how we are able to translate into an actionable plan for which the committees that are being set up, which they have given 3 years time, as I said earlier. In 3 years time, we should be able to come out with draft blueprint as to how to go about each one of these recommendations.
I see a lot of connections which you earlier you shared your contributions to the school education and the learning and the evaluation. All those things are coming into reality through this national education policy. I see that connections and that implications. I feel it, sir, that your voice is here in this new education policy.
Well, thank you for saying so. Nobody acknowledges it, but I see that what I wanted to, and I'm happy at that what I experimented, what I wanted, that education should not only be on a very latitude, but it should also be integrated with your daily work. You understand, you are able to earn as well as you perfect your humanism, etc., etc. So things are coming to that way, and well, you have noticed it. So thank you very much for having. Many people do not acknowledge, and I don't want it to be acknowledged because there are hundreds and hundreds of people who have worked in this area. So, but it gives me satisfaction. Certainly, it gives me satisfaction that what I was thinking or what I was experimenting, particularly the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Atmanirbhar Bharat is a very great step in the field of education. Nobody had made a statement like that education would lead to self-employment, self,
self-realization.
Economic development as well as you see, education for life and education for living blended together as a deliberate attempt of the educational process would lead to Atmanirbhar Bharat. So where education for life is very important. I made in my last
yes, sir, exactly.
Yeah. I made a reference, education for life and education for living, both blended together, would be a basic, I would say, a basic step to Atmanirbhar Bharat. That will come. That is what my expectation that will
come. The concepts and the strategies that you suggested in your previous interviews, all those things are really become the tools to facilitate this new educational policy, National Education Policy 2020. So I see that threads, that connections, and I feel proud of it, sir. Thank you so much for your laying the foundation and pointing the directions for future generation. Particularly, this National Education Policy has integrated all those ideas. I see with my very little knowledge of perceiving the National Education Policy at this point of time. And I have a question for you in that connection. The question is related to Indian anthropologists' contribution towards the education and towards that conceptual or any theoretical frameworks to promote the holistic education, particularly in Indian context. And would you please?
I couldn't get your first part of your question. Would you kindly repeat it?
The Indian anthropological contribution and the contribution of Indian anthropologists to education sector in India particularly.
There is no, I must say formally, in formal sense, there is no deliberate effort or there is no recognition of anthropology as contributing to our educational policy. I haven't seen any anthropologist having been associated in any process of curriculum development or of the, except the small contribution that we made in NCERT and tried to bring in those concepts. But when they say, as soon as they say that humanism and human society, and then anthropology creeps in. Anthropology creeps in without being named as a
without their knowledge, they're acknowledging the need for anthropology.
Exactly. It's time for social anthropologists particularly, and those who are involved in education, educational anthropology, I would say. It's time for them to make a statement and come out and say that, well, here is a body of 5, 6, 10, 20 people in this country who can pitch in with you in national policy education and seeing what are the community needs and how it can be geared to broader objectives of Atmanirbhar Bharat or self-reliant Bharat or Make in India or whatever it is. But for example, I see the bamboo work in the Northeast being practiced by the tribal communities, right? So bamboo work in Northeast and bamboo plantation, etc., do they form a part of anthropological study with regard to the practices, agricultural practices, horticultural practices, is that. Now, how much are they going to contribute or whether they are being seen to be contributed towards the development of bamboo products which are being priced outside the country and in sale. There is a, if you remember, there is a organization called TriFed, right? The Tribal Art and Federation for Development. I forget the full form, but TriFed is this society which manufactures, which promotes tribal handicrafts. Now, tribal handicrafts are not only handicrafts, there is human element involved in that. How much anthropologists are involved in TriFed activity directly. They may be peripherally, they may be there. They may be studying how to make a basket as a community. Let me say, take the case of Birhoru, this tribe that I have studied. They make ropes out of the bark, tree bark, which is very strong. Now, this is the end product of that rope, and that rope becoming a part of some kind of product that is sellable, that can fetch them money and all these things, and perfecting that art into world competitive market. So that is one part of it. But the anthropologists, how can they contribute in promoting this and encouraging people that this rope making that you are making is a viable, sustainable economic activity in the present day time. And this, in the present day time, it's not that small that you subsist, but you live well. And how to perfect your art, how to improve your art, how to improve your product, so that it competes in the international market. Now that bark, that rope, I mean, there are a lot of potential just off the head that if it can be made into a beautiful purse, which is sold in Khadi and Village Industries Commission at a hefty price. So these are some of the things. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I'm saying that it's not promoted. And because the anthropologists have not involved themselves in this kind of education, this kind of promotion. It's left to a businessman or a cooperative society to develop their own product. And where is the basic input of anthropology as a social science to educate them that their traditional art is a marketable product which can bring better economic return than what they are getting. So this kind of anthropology has permeate into different societies, different communities to mitigate their economic problems, to help them earn more, to restore their pride in being tribal, and to integrate them in the, I would say, the Indian society's, what you call a myriad picture of Indian society, where each one is contributing to its beauty. And so that is that. We have been, I mean, I am sorry to say, applied anthropology is at a discount. And everything that we are talking about relates to applied anthropology.
Sir, yeah. So what are the tribal competencies and how they are marketable and productive and useful for the wider society, and how the wider country as a larger society can benefit from the tribal wisdom and the competencies which are specially acquired by them for their survival. So to make those competencies to help them flourish, not only flourish and to become a blessing to the nation. That's where anthropological applications can really make positive difference. That's what you want to say, sir?
Well, I think the anthropological fraternity had to sit down and work out something like national education policy. They made, you make sit all the anthropologists come together and work out how to integrate, because the study of human being is not only for the sake of study.
Exactly.
It is for the sake of making improvement in the human being, human society, human living, etc. So I make a study. I said, okay, I studied tribal education. Everything is very bad. There's something like that, and they are. So what? I must say that these are the ways and means on how we can improve their situation, which may lead to the improvement in their quality of life. So I am not aware if any tribal is any anthropology is associated with say Madhya Pradesh cottage industry emporium. Is there any anthropologist employed there who is looking at what kind of chanderi sari these people are making, and what are the designs, and what is the logic of design, and how it makes very distinctive pattern, and what are the potentials of its marketing and growth, where can it find market, how to channelize. So anthropology and business. Anthropology and business. Have you seen any course anywhere in any university where anthropology and business are together? Or business management or business promotion is a paper in any anthropology, any university masters in anthropology? I am not aware. I may not be aware. But if there is one, then that fellow who studies the tribal art and cottage industry can be of help in finding market for the product, and also refining, also giving feedback with regard to kind of demands that is there in the market, so that these tribal communities which are producing these artifacts or these materials are able to adjust to the market demand and do that. So I think that the education the faculty, the people teaching anthropology in the universities, they have to come together and see that how they move from the purist approach to applied approach. Applied anthropology, applied social anthropology has to find manifestation. So it is a very good time, opportune time, particularly when the national policy of education is being worked out, that informally, even in your organization, can think in terms of collecting together social anthropologists from different universities and taking upon this job, how to sustain Sambalpuri saris. Now, Sambalpur is in Odisha. Or what is your, in Andhra Pradesh, there is, what is that? Well, there are various local products. Those local products, how to market them, how to get good return, how to improve the design in terms of market demands. Now, these are some of the areas which applied anthropology course must have. Jute products is one. For Rabadis in that area, jute products are now getting so popular elsewhere, almost all over the world. So, how to harness that? Bamboo product is the one. Lots of you see, perhaps I made a mention about cashew nuts, etc., being produced and jungle produced in Garo Hills, where I was studying. So that is one that we could exploit or explore. And it is a very opportune time for us to.
In Andhra Pradesh, Kalankari printing.
Kalankari printing, yeah.
It has a huge international market now.
It had Kalankari work, I am aware of it. It is a very prized work. But what I am saying is that if some tribal communities are involved in that and they are practicing this, so they have to see how much of their original and what is the market demand. The anthropologists would come in between to see that their identity, their traditional design is not impacted by modernism, and at the same time find suitable market and where economists will come. So as the economic anthropologist or anthropological economist, whatever you call, as you said, I am educational anthropologist, okay? Similarly, economic anthropologist will be an area that will emerge, which will study the local produce, local genius and genre, and see how it is marketed, which ultimately results in betterment, economic betterment of that particular community. So these kinds of things are, and this relates to your original question when you said that the IITs and others are humanities, etc. This has been acknowledged and is being brought in. So in anthropology, postgraduate student of anthropology, how much is he exposed to the techniques, methods, products of the subject tribe that one is studying, and what is the potential market and how that can be encouraged and how. So they can find employment situations in organizations like TriFed, like cottage industries, Emporia, like handloom board, etc., etc. I'm not aware any anthropologists having been employed in the cottage industry emporium or cottage industry board. So, because we have tried to be purist within my own work field. I will work only in this area. This is anthropology. So you have to reach out how your discipline is going to help the society. And then in modern times, you have to, there is nothing like border type bifurcation. So you have to have some kind of juxtaposing, overlapping areas, and which so this national policy is breaking that barrier. The barrier that I am pointing out now, this is breaking that barrier, and you and I should be in a position to help that.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I have one fundamental and very basic question. What is the vision? What is the vision of anthropology? As anthropology as a discipline, what is its vision for humankind?
A very, very good question, very difficult one. But I see, if you, as you say, that anthropology is the study of man, then you have to concern that the man that was, the man that is, and the man that would be. So, in physical anthropology, we used to study the physiology of human being. We went to discover Neanderthal man and all those things. Then we had philology, in which we try to how languages developed, how language and then drum beating and that language of this, that kind of sign, and then hieroglyphic languages, and then 4 kinds of Proto-Australoid, Austroasiatic, etc., etc. So these are some of the things. These are kind of a classical study. But study of man, evolving man, and future man. So I would say that man is with capital M and capital A and capital N, not man like me and like man like you, man as a species. So I would envision that anthropology should enlarge itself. Contemporary man, it's a man and society, it is studying under social anthropology. And they are taking note of what is on the ground now. But they have to take a futuristic view. What would be hence, 50 years hence? What would be 100 years hence? And what can be done? Human being as a species, human being as a society, social anthropology, various groups, etc. How are they going to be impacted? So that kind of, I would say, projection might be an area that one would like. And that projection has to be built on a model, on a structure of what is now the technological know-how in terms of your genealogical studies, in terms of your computer science and modeling, etc., etc. You have that. What will be after 50 years? What will be? Just see the affairs of tribe by D.N. Majumdar. He studies Ho in 1927, 28, or maybe 30s. That Ho community, I mean tribe, is very different from what he has described. Or Santals, or Orangs, or Munda, that I had studied in 1960s, early 60s. They are very different now. I come across them. You can't say that he's a Munda. Or so much water has flown down the river since then. And we as anthropologists should have been able to foresee or project that what kind of changes, technological development, social development, etc. is happening, and what is going to be the future of this. And then are we able to prepare them for that? So that kind of, I think anthropology should, I don't know, I mean, whether a purist will agree or not, but I think that if one has to serve the humanity, then one has to be pragmatic and one has to be futuristic also.
Yeah, the vision of anthropology will decide the vision for anthropology and vision of anthropology and vision for humankind. These are the 3 visions. I think we need reflection and retrospection and the future prospects.
Right. You have said it very rightly. Yeah. A dialogue must start now. A dialogue must, discussion, a kind of interaction among ourselves on these areas. What is going to be the different tribal communities in India? What will be they like in 2050? So if they 2050, what is the projection of Ram, what is the prediction of Toda, what is the prediction of Garos, what is the prediction of Khasis. Seeing what has happened, what is now, and what is likely to happen. If you are going to make that kind of study, then you would be better prepared for meeting the challenges at that time. Oh, it may not be possible that 100% you would be able to project, but you will be, fairly 60-70% of what is the projection coming like. Will they remain in their own habitat, or they are proliferating? Will there be any the racial mix-up? Whatever you have, there's hundreds of the topics one can say. Whether you can be able to identify them, whether you will be able to. For example, take the case of, I'll just give you one small example. The Khasi, the Garo, they are matrilineal society, matriarchal matrilineal society. Now, the property, the name, family name passes from mother to the daughter, and the boy marries and goes to stay with the wife, etc. It is still there, but there are changes. Now, if you go to Meghalaya, you'll find that many of the male folk are taking decisions or advising, although they may not be able, they may not be exercising the legal control over the legacy or the property, but they are certain that their role has changed since I studied them in 1966. And now I was talking to a Khasi woman. She is a professor. I asked these questions, and she said, no. She laughed at me. She said, no, in namesake, yes, I am. But it's all my husband who does all these things. So this is the acculturative process that has taken place. This is the process of. So what would it be like after say in 2050, what would be? As a social anthropologist, I should be in a position to project. So that's a.
Sir, because education determines the future product of the society, how society will be. The present educational acquisition determines the quality of life, the futurity of humanity, and all these things. And also, on the one hand, on the other hand, policy regulates, controls, determines, prescribes every aspect of human life. So, on the one hand, policy controls, on the other hand, education determines. And so, and educational policy together matters a lot for the future prospects or future conditions of humanity in India, particularly. So, national education policy and how do anthropology matters for education, and how do anthropology matters for policy, and how do yes.
If you have looked at the process of policy formulation in terms of education particularly, you'll find that wide consultation has been made. They claim that more than 80,000, 90,000 people were consulted through various seminars, forums, consultative groups, etc., etc. And then that has been fed to the policy committee, and then they came out with what they have come out. So it's a kind of it is claimed that it is a kind of a consensus emerging out of broad consultation. Now, the committees that curriculum framework committees, that will be announced the specific area wise. That will come out with the logistics and the brass tacks of the details. Program is simply objective and kind of a statement, broad statement of broad objectives, but the specific objectives, specific steps, methodologies, the tools, etc., will have to be worked out with them. So I would suggest that if anthropologists of the country are concerned about this, because education is a very essential part of human study, human society. So they must come forward and make a statement or a representation to the Ministry of HRD, Education, that this is the kind of role that we want to play in policy formulation and with regard to detailing. So if they can come out with that, that perhaps will be a very positive state, because they will have to volunteer. I don't think that anybody is going to approach us or any anthropologist that, oh, you come and you do this, or you advise us. You have to make yourself felt. You have to argue that you have a claim to be part of this whole process.
Yeah, yes, that's why we call ourselves as an organization that spreads anthropological applications. How useful anthropological insights and the methods and knowledge makes positive difference for policy, for education, for the health and whatever the sector catering to the total needs of the total humans. Catering the total needs of the total humans, and how anthropology can be a useful platform where the anthropological insights and wisdom translates the vision into reality. So, as you rightly mentioned, that in detailing those things and translating the vision of the national education policy into reality on the ground, and the expected outcome and how to achieve it. So that's where actually anthropological wisdom and applications are really needed. And also government, if not government, asks for anthropological inputs, and there should be anthropological initiative and voluntary contribution, as you rightly hinted. That is an amazing step for us. It's a great opportunity awaiting for us out there to partner with the nation in actualization and realization of the national education policy. I agree with you, sir. Professor N.K.Ambasht, thank you for your valuable insights and practical steps to be taken, and your invitation for anthropologists at a national scale to come to a platform to devise some applications which are useful for translating the vision of National Education Policy 2020 Act into grand success on the ground, so that it will make a huge positive difference at a national scale, so that our country can make progress in, and the human development will be a wonderful experience, and sustainable, peaceful, social coexistence, which is possible through education and through the pro-human policy frameworks. So in this connection, you have given us wonderful hints and leads and insights and experiences, and we are grateful to your wisdom. Thank you so much. Thank you for your valuable time and the instructions.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.